All right, here we are at the Rainforest Pavilion at Neverland. I want to welcome everybody to this Mixmag Asia powered panel. And for us, this is something very important because, as I was saying before, we got some of the big players of Bali's partying scene right here on stage, and also sitting down here in the audience. Everyone is a part of the scene here, you know? It's not just the people here, it's also the people sitting down right here. You know, we're all a part of this scene together. And as Rainforest Pavilion, this is the biggest thing that matters, is when we all come together for a good cause. So with that in mind, to introduce our Mixmag Asia powered panel about Clubland after COVID, the pathway to reopening Bali, and we have our esteemed guest here on stage. I'll start from left to right. We got Mr. Mark Baker right here. Mr. Mark Baker is the word, I guess the best way to say it is, the word legend is used way too often, but here's an actual legend, you know? That's the best way to describe Mr. Mark Baker. And you could also call him the nightlife godfather. He represents, in some sort of way, Savaya as the ambassador of fun. Take that any way as you want, but I think something that he's more proud of would be Beach Garden and In the Raw Juices. And it's about you being a very organic company that has been focusing on the environment for a while now. All right, to the next here, we have Mr. Serge Prosh from Mantra Production Bali. Woo. And I'm very happy to have him here today because they've been doing some really cool events, and they kind of represent, for me, the people who's been coming to Bali and making events in the recent times, but who got it right, who really focus on the culture and trying to show the culture in a cool way through their events. And I think that's very important. So thank you for being here today. I gotta laugh at Mr. Brett Allen's tagline. He wanted to be introduced as the dishwasher of Shishi.
I just want to clear it up. I actually was a glassy before. I just got recently promoted.
Yes, he's moving his way up. Soon he'll be doing the floors. Yeah.
One day.
He's also has a lot of experience behind the DJ booth as one half of Rave Radio, right? They're an electronic duo from Australia, but now he's here in Bali representing some of the nightlife. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And we have Jennifer Jones, right? Yes. Jennifer Jones, actually, I'm very happy that she's our last-minute addition because she's rounding off the female power on our panel here. Otherwise, it would have been a little too many boys, right? Yeah. Good. So she's representing Vault Nightclub for us as the marketing director. And Vault Nightclub is the actual club underground. So representing underground. Thank you very much. Okay. And we have Mr. Ralph Maddy here. Of course, you've all been to Morobito. It's been some of the best sunsets, but his experience list goes very long and far as being one of the founders of BPM Music Festival and also a host of nightclubs around the world. So thank you very much for being here. And last but not least, Mr. Yuda Budisurya. Mr. Yudi Budisurya is representing a Lifescape group, the Lifescape group, which is a festival-based company that's been doing It's the Ship, Armin Only, and it has offices here in Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore. But I know Yuda for a very long time in Jakarta, and he's been the man behind many restaurants and nightclubs, and even some of the nightclubs where I started partying. So it's an honor for him to have him here. So thank you very much. All right, so we're going to get straight into it. And I'm going to just open the floor to everyone just to have everyone's thoughts on how the industry in their own way has been affected by COVID and this whole entire pandemic. You know, some of you guys been rocking it strong during this time, and some of you have been affected by it. So let's just have a few thoughts from everyone about what's been happening and where you are right now.
Okay, thank you. Gosh, it's a tough one. I think none of us. I think before we look forward, we have to look at what's come before. Early last year, in January and February, when we started to hear rumors about this pandemic, and obviously we think we're immune from everything here in Bali, but as March came on, it started to become really apparent that we were going to get hit really hard, and the really tough decision for most business owners was, as they started to enforce the restrictions, and we saw the rest of the world shutting down one by one, as business owners, we had to make really tough decisions as to whether to try and stay open. All of us carry staff that need to feed their families as well. So as the restrictions came in and tourism sort of started to wane, we had to go. I think most businesses basically took their staff to 50% wages, and then eventually 30% wages. Some closed down right away and just fired everybody on the spot. I don't have to name names, but I'm sure that'll come back to bite them in the ass later down the road. Look, I think we all did our best to try and stay open, but it became apparent around May that it would be really, really difficult to sustain a business and pay payroll and pay the rent, pay the bills, because you just weren't getting enough business. You were just losing money every week, and that money dries up. So heartbreakingly, many businesses, including one of mine, Beach Garden, had to close. Savaya closed. In the raw juices, I was lucky because people started to realize they needed really good juice to stay healthy and build their immune system. www.intheraw.com. But and then we're sitting in high season of last year, June, July, August, and we're a freaking ghost town, and nothing's moving. Not just up here. Even the lucky ones for us were up here in Canggu and Brawa, Pereira now, and we have a big expat community. We were able to sort of do some business, and there's people on the street, and some business could survive. But if you ever take a walk, down in Kuta and Legion and Sebanyak, it's just terrible. There's just nobody there. So this whole, and then you think about the hotels. So the whole island basically had to pretty much shut down, except for these little pockets of expats, businesses who have a small following that were able to basically just try and break even, which is I think pretty much where we're at right now, is that we're all just trying to break even with the responsibility, and however much work that takes. I think most of the business owners here and the ones I know are happy to just break even and pay the families, pay the locals to work, because they need it, because they were absolutely starving. So that's where we were. The second issue I think was really confusing and was Indonesia as it is, but not just Indonesia, the whole world. Things change. So you can't plan for anything. So we all geared up for this big Christmas and this big New Year's Eve, and we all, I think, after 9 months or 8 months of closing, we had to invest quite a lot of money back into our businesses to, uniform, cleaning. Things get overgrown here really quickly. And we're all excited for this big rush that's coming at Christmas. Jakarta's coming, and this one's coming. And then fucking 2 days before that happens, they said, we're shutting the airport, you can't come. And New Year's is cancelled. So, oh, come on. So that, immediately 50% of the people that were coming here cancelled, hotels cancelled. Here we were again, sitting there jerking off. So, excuse my French. And it's been kind of like that since New Year's. We don't know. The whole world doesn't know. And all in all, I think, and I'll leave the rest of the dialogue to the professionals. But I didn't say professionals of what. The whole world is looking at Bali. Obviously, everyone here is probably everybody's talking about Bali. We are, I wouldn't say a success, but I'd say we were a success. our Banjar system here obviously has allowed villages to shut down. They were, finally the Pechalang, had things to do, and the island has not been hit with mass deaths and people dying. There have people who have died, unfortunately, but the hotels haven't been overwhelmed. Anyone who's going out and about right now, let's be honest, most people aren't masking up when they're out, and they're not dying. I think for whatever reason, Bali's certainly a magical and unique place and has its own way of doing things. A lot of prayer, and a lot of practical issues. Well, I think they've done really well here in Indonesia. Basically, the whole world is looking at Bali. Everybody is, I think we're number one on TripAdvisor destination. We're number one. We're like the number one post-COVID. And I think everybody's had a wake-up call in the world to say, working a 9 to 5 and living in a box isn't necessarily quality of life. But all you fucking hippies in Bali are doing really good, and it looks really fun. And we have all the ingredients to make this right. So I think from now, as we hear whispers of a June pocket opening from Jokowi and Ubud, little bubbles here and there, I think it's time to just lay the groundwork now. We've all seen how Bali is when we haven't got like horrible mass tourism. Hopefully they'll maybe just do more quality, less quantity, and we have a chance to keep our island clean and really focus on doing the beautiful, sustainable thing. I think Bali was coming to a brink where we were just about to go over the edge of a precipice, where we were really messing it up. This is just like we've all had a slap in the face, so it's time to think about what we've got, how lucky we are, and get ready to welcome the whole world. Everyone's been vaccinated on the island, Banjars, they've gone now from service industry to government to villages now. So I think we're ready, give it a couple more months and off we go. The whole world's coming. We hope so.
Wow. Mr. Mark Baker never disappoints. Kind of wrapped it all up right there. Before we move on, I think we made a very important point that wasn't really discussed in the news, and I just really want to kind of drive home that fact, was that right before New Year's, we were kind of told that we were allowed to do events, and there was this whole entire movement about pushing tourism again, pushing tourism like in November, about really let's reopen for New Year's. And I bet everyone at this kind of table kind of thought about, oh, what's my New Year's plan? And maybe for their venue or for their industry. And in I think it was a couple weeks beforehand, it was talked about reduced numbers.
We actually got told 8 p.m. on the 30th. You have to close in 1 hour, and the army's coming. See you in a minute.
Yeah,
we're like, okay.
I think this is something that wasn't talked about really. I mean, of course it's talked about for health and safety reasons. Of course, everyone has to shut down right now, and we understand that. But as an industry, nobody understands 12 hours of preparation for maybe the biggest party of the whole entire year that you were all planning for got cut right from the your feet. So thank you for mentioning that point. All right, let's move on a little bit. Yeah? He's ready, yeah?
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Islanders, and hello, all Keystone leaders. Respect to all Keystone leaders of this island. We're quite new here. We come from Ukraine, and I want to tell you about some other things that what you have here now, we already have in our country almost 7 years. So we got this challenge already since 2014, and for sure this is the really hard time for the industry, for the all of the world, but we can survive, and not only survive, we can really have the profit from this time as we get. The last year we have our beach club. It's in Odessa, in the coast of the Black Sea. So due to the pandemic time, we think to close it. But we changed the game, and we try to do as much as we can. So we cancel the night events and focused only in daytime events, but not only in the Friday, not only in the Saturday, but every day. And we get absolutely full summer packed each days, and we get the same profit as the year before the COVID. So on this meeting, we should talk about not only the bad time, but we should think about what this time can bring to us. Thank you a lot, and I hope this.
What were the activities you were doing in the day?
We do the parties, but the main activities was to bring our main the main attention to the main things. What is the main things? The success of our guests. So we do everything around our guests. So the main activities, the main focused to the success of our guests. This is the key. Thank you.
I also heard that you were, during this time, you were focusing a little bit more on local acts instead of trying to bring international acts in. As we move down, we can kind of start talking about where we've been as a venue and talk about also how does the international market affect you guys. So sometimes we have to bring in international DJs to try and make our club pop. So for you guys, what kind of where do you see your market going, and how has your market been affected? And you think you can still get what you need for your venue from focusing on locals, or are you trying to go back to that international market before?
At Shishi particularly, we've been fortunate from the start. We've always been geared towards the more Asian clientele, domestic market. So we've been fortunate during this period that we've, kept the Indonesian crowd, the Jakarta market. Obviously, when Jakarta doesn't come to town, things get a bit slow. We're quite a big company, so our objective right now is just to keep. We're almost 400 in staff, so we just try and keep all the staff employed and keep everyone fed, and look after everyone, because this is a weird time in Bali. It actually feels like the first time ever Bali's just like one big community. It's really strange though, because before it was like the tourists versus the locals, and I'm sure everyone that lives here now knows that everywhere you go, the locals know you're a local now. It's what it feels like. Anyway, that's what I think, and it's all like we just all surviving to get to the other side. And I think too, after COVID, everyone's going to remember everyone that was in Bali during this period, and you'll always be like, yeah. Look how Tosh is holding his drink for starters. Like that's impressive. Like not even he's a good guy. He's a good guy. Point being, we're all trying to make it to the other side. We're all trying to maintain our lives and stay healthy, and we're also so fortunate we can have the freedoms of life and enjoy it still. Just make sure you put stickers on your cameras, and away you go.
All right, that actually brings us to an interesting point, Jennifer. I like what you were just saying right there, Brett, is that you're trying to keep your staff employed. So as a venue, how have you guys been able to overcome this during this time, which is, I think it's one of the biggest things everyone thinks about, how to keep everyone employed and keep everyone happy. What's some of your difficulties as a venue that you came across?
Hi everyone. So for me, actually, that is very important thing is like to keep your employee happy and everything. One of a lot of people really focusing on the virus side of it, and how do you have to put your mask, use sanitizer and this and that. But for me, honestly, out of everything, what is more important is the mental health of our employees. That is very important, because what is us without our employees? What is us without this core team that actually made us the way we are when it's not pandemic? So what I do personally is always have a one-on-one with my employees, with everyone in the company, have a team briefing at least one time a month where we come together, where we always motivate, always it's very important. And like also Mark Baker mentioned earlier, for now we're just trying to break even, and we're already very thankful for that. Just to be able to pay our employee is already, that's our main goal for now. And about the international act, Vault is actually mostly an international act venue. That is what the business, what Vault is about. So at the moment, being in this pandemic, it actually affected us a lot. But however, the other side of Vault is actually a community-orientated venue. So we do have an advantage in the hip-hop side of the party, but when it comes to the house side, it's very tough. But yeah, it's just pressure us to think outside the box even more. How can we go through this? And yeah, collaborating with other businesses. Like we had like this one time a dinner underground thing. We're planning to do a beach island festival, small mini festival, because we can't really open up the club. You know, we don't have the advantage of like outdoor venues, daytime venue. We're an underground club, so we really have to like. It's quite tough. It's very tough. So yeah, it's a lot of pressure, but as long as we're in this together, we're helping each other, I think we can do it. We can make it. We can pass through this. And once the pandemic actually is over, hopefully soon, I don't know, but hopefully soon, we've been through the hard time of it. So once everything is go back to normal, all the small obstacles that will come in the future, I feel it will be easy for us. So we'll be fine after this. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a very positive message right there, that we're all going to be fine in this. How about for you, Ralph? How you seen from the global scene and to what's happening here in Bali right now? We're kind of in an interesting situation here in Bali. If you look at everyone else's feeds and what they're posting on their social media, and you post yourself at the beach, and everyone's like, "Hey, what are you doing? What's this lockdown, pandemic stuff?" You know. With your venues and all of your side businesses, what can you see that Bali have to offer to the world after this?
Wow. Okay. Anyways, I've been here.
Take a deep breath.
Well, I came 6 months ago, and I didn't know what to expect, basically. And wow, Bali's just incredible. I'm so happy to be here. I think, like, you know, the culture just gives such a positive energy, and it just helps just, you know, that energy just kind of resonates to everywhere. So it's like, you know, it's. I remember somebody told me that when you're here, if Bali doesn't want you, then you won't stay in Bali. So, you know, Bali definitely wants me, so I'm happy to be here, yeah. So as far as the hospitality, I think it just, you know, the hospitality industry got slammed the worst. I still have a club and restaurant back in Toronto, Canada, and we haven't been open since March. So, you know, like Mark said about breaking even, and the staff. You know, we really care about the staff. So, you know, right now here in Bali, I think that's important about just breaking even and restructuring your business, and gives you time to actually think about what you want to do and your future plan, and really take the time to think about coming out of this and who you are and what you want to be, and yeah, that's it.
I also noticed in Bali, in most countries in the world, in hospitality, everyone's enemies, but in Bali, everyone's just mates with each other. Like it's crazy. Like usually, like in an opposition venue, people are like, die.
But that's the thing, you know. Like there's room for everybody. You just got to know what kind of venue you are, and you know, you got to survive. So you got to make changes to make that work, you know. And
I just want to jump and say, you know, that's a really good point. You know, this is a brutal business in any city in the world, and we are very competitive, all of us. I've seen a lot recently where, you know, venues, we've collaborated and changed dates on stuff just because we don't want to clash, and I think that's a really, you know, maybe so we've just stopped the clock for a second, and you know, look, you know, we'll go back to being like super competitive, but I think it's we really
just wait,
just a little bit. But look, Bali's amazing. It's a small island, and I think that everybody who's out there, you know, we know them. Everybody knows us. They don't want to see us squabbling like they do in many places that we know. We support each other, and that's a really, really good point. That going forward, we're competitive and we do the best we can, but we're also a little bit flexible and able to try and work on stuff. We do days, you do nights, you do this, so that people can move around. That's just going to help. If we all go head to head every night, that's not good. On the small amount of clients or businesses out there, it doesn't behoove us to be fighting each other. So us working together is good, and that sets a good precedent going forward.
Yeah, and especially like with the artists, right? The artists can come, what I realize is the artists can come to Asia, play Sevilla, which is a massive venue, do a little tour, come back to Bali, play a more VIP venue like mine. So there's room to work. You just have to sit down, talk about it, and come up with a plan, and we can all work together.
Actually, just working off of that point, we want to move on to Yuda here, who has extensive experience in Pan-ASEAN, especially between the corridor between here, Malaysia, and Singapore. What do you see because from what I see from the industry before is about having one DJ plays here on Friday, plays in Malaysia on Friday, plays in Singapore on Sunday, and then maybe Saturday, and then maybe in Bali on Sunday. Do you think this business model is going to continue moving forward? And how do you see that affecting what you've done in the past and what you're trying to do in the future?
I think it will sustain just because it makes sense for the artists to do it. Otherwise, they would do one-off. To fly all the way to Bali just doesn't make sense and do one gig. In terms of sharing an act within, say, Bali or whenever, even between two clubs in Singapore, it's very doable because what we do at Livescape is we're offering experience. So what we do is basically an experience-based IPs, and then there's a lineup there to support. So as long as you can have that going, obviously all of you have unique venues here, and that's an IP in itself. That's a unique IP in itself. So I think the crowd will in the end choose, and in the end of the day, there's big enough market for everyone to share. I mean, that's how I see it, really.
And
If you need a dishwasher for It's the Ship,
I always do.
I'm your man.
Always do.
I was a glassy before, just to let you know,
yeah,
but
yeah.
now dishwasher.
All right.
Getting back to the DJ point there for a second, about 10 years ago when I first came here into Asia, and I came into Singapore, and I was working with a group called Enlist. We was trying to put all the clubs in Asia on an application that could, people could move around and see what was going on. I met such resistance of any collaboration of any kind. In Singapore, they just wanted to kill each other's kids. Malaysia, it was horrible. I'm sorry. The idea of flight sharing, and the only people benefiting in that were the DJ agents, who were like, yeah, sure, it's 2 business class tickets, flight tickets, the kids, 4 hotels, this, that, 50 grand, and then they fly back to New York the next day. Finally, when some darker elements in the region, I'm sorry, I'm not going to say names, but who have moved out, everybody collaborates now. We all talk. Flight sharing is the only way to get those big acts down here. No single venue, however big you are, can afford those massive DJ fees for those DJs that are coming in. I also think that, those massive DJ fees have just had a check as well. We obviously, as venues, we like to promote local talent, local DJs, but it's good. It's nice to have some international talent, and it does drive numbers and business, no doubt. But I think we're talking to agents and DJs now. The DJs themselves want to come to Bali and Asia, which is a big plus. So when you're talking to an agent who's demanding ridiculous telephone numbers for a DJ, the DJs, we can now go to the DJ and say, look, speak to your agent because this deal ain't going to happen at those numbers, and that's going to be a change. So yes, international talent, flight sharing amongst, we've got to keep it exciting. If we're meant to be the Ibiza of Asia, we have to have some talent. But the talent knows Bali now, and they never wanted to come, not want to, they came here for vacation. Now, everybody wants to play Bali now. That's a category. And they can bring their family and kids and have a little bit of a mini vacation or a good time also. I think That said, we can't be just DJ driven like everywhere in the rest of the world, including cities. The only people that can afford big DJs is Las Vegas and those places who make $1 million a night nights. Most of us can't afford those big DJs on a regular basis. So I think what this pandemic has done is really made us think outside of the box. I think it's a good thing, actually, because being held hostage by DJ agents is not a good thing. Develop local talent. There is incredible talent. I mean, look at Serge Brosh. You know, I mean, it's one of the best that's come out of this pandemic for me, anyway. There's lots of great local talent. We have to also think about programming, creative programming, where it's not just, you know, let's all meet at 1 o'clock in the morning and bang it out till 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, people are thinking about their health, so there's day activities, like you were saying, Serge, at your club. You know, just we have to think and be more creative about the day. Just do yoga at 8 o'clock in the morning. Let's do lunches. Let's do, you know, live performance. Let's do these little mini festivals. So it's good, and that also, for right now, you know, makes us use local talent too, which just turns the money around in the economy. Anyway, that's what I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what we do on It's a Ship. We're basically a holiday festival. You know, you get on a cruise with all the talents. So you have talents there for 3 nights, 4 nights. What do? You know, you create bowling tournaments with the talents. You know, we do 3-on-3 basketball with talents. So it's those sort of things that's really exciting for us. So you know, on It's a Ship, we don't necessarily book the top line DJs, you know, because we don't have the space to do it to begin with. But you know, we don't need that level of talent, you know, because we're offering something else.
Yeah, the concept sells itself.
I mean, you've been. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, just kind of driving on this point, I'll talk to Serge again, who's, I've really noticed that he has incorporated a little bit more than just a DJ set into all of his events, you know. Even though you're doing event takeovers of many different places, we see that there's an addition of culture, an addition of experience beyond just a DJ set. And so why do you think that's important?
The absolutely important things for Bali is to communicate the cultural code, the cultural DNA of everything here, because this is translate to all of the world the difference between Bali, Tulum, Mykonos, Ibiza. So Bali shouldn't be 1-1. It's my heart speaking so loud. So Bali shouldn't be the second Ibiza. Bali should be the first Bali.
Have you trademarked that? Serge.
It's on camera. I just said that's a T-shirt, so royalties go to him.
So, Brett, for a place like Shishi, which has been operating during this time of the pandemic in whatever way is possible, how do you see your venue being able to contribute to what's going on here beyond just performing business during a pandemic time? Do you see that there's a future in nightclubs and becoming more sustainable in not just the eco side, but also the culture side? And how can we add that into a bit more of a commercial nightclub?
That's a tricky question, actually.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but...
Yeah, well done, well done. Well, you know, like, this is really a hard question to answer. We are a nightclub, but we are very locally driven as a nightclub. So we're very Indonesian-based with our direction. We adapt with what's going on, just like Savaya do. We do our best to play our part in the local economy, really, which is a huge part in the food and beverage sector at the moment. So, you know, we just try our best to, like, just keep everything going. And as far as making it, what was the real question again?
On the ramble.
I'll try to answer that.
Okay, even like you step out of the shishi shoes for a second. Shishi shoes. How do you think yourself think that nightclubs can add a little bit more to the culture side of an island? Because
okay, now I think right now for us, what we're offering, everyone's going through a hard time in life, right? No matter who you are, everyone's affected some way or another. We provide an escape for people to come and enjoy themselves, forget about whatever problems they have, and just have some fun, you know? Whether it's eating, drinking, dancing, push-ups for Olivia, anything, just to enjoy your life. Because that's one thing I've learned during this pandemic. I went through 2 stages. Half of it was stress, and then I got to a stage last year where I was like, it's all good. And then I just started living my life again. And then I haven't thought about it since. And I hope other people take that approach.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why you're on this panel, even from the funny way you put gave yourself the title of dishwasher.
I just want to, no, hang on. I just want to clear it up. I was a glassy and I just got promoted.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean...
last week, so it's like new. I just want...
I'll see you next week and see what happens, right?
Okay.
No, I think this is something that's very important, that we add a bit of fun to this industry, because maybe before this whole entire pandemic stuff, the whole entire industry was a little too serious, and everyone's like, yeah, let's make the biggest party ever. Our party's better than yours, and it's just it was losing a bit of the love that was in it. So the question goes to you, Jennifer. So how can we evolve as nightclubs? Really, it's kind of similar to what he was just saying about there. But how did you kind of think that you can incorporate this into Vault as well and events there? I know you were talking already a little bit about the hip hop community and stuff. But how can the business evolve with that beyond just an EO night?
Honestly, for me, I think it's more, we're already involving with a lot of the communities, and we want Vault to be like a place where everyone can come in, and like, even though you're a new artist, we have the bunker. We want it to be like a place where people could like learn and grow as a new artist, put in their art. We can do exhibition, we can do dance showcase, whatever it is that is, contributing to the culture, and like, collabing with the community basically. And this is weird, but one of my dream, it's in the future, hopefully. It's kind of crazy, but I think it will be a great idea somehow. I don't know, it might sound weird.
I can't wait to hear it.
But for like, honestly, this kind of makes me think, like, what if one day all of the nightclubs, maybe not all, a few nightclubs, come together, make a huge festival? I think that will be it's different, and I think that might be like an amazing idea. And we did something, yeah, sure.
And Vault pays the fees.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, I feel like this pandemic really like make us more closer to each other, like I said earlier, and that would help the culture as much as it will help us evolve in this business. I think that's
100% agree.
All right, meeting Wednesday, 10 o'clock.
All right, for you guys over here, because I mean, you guys are kind of in the same industry, bigger events than just venues, and more into festivals and experiences, as you're saying. So I think this is something that we have to see after the pandemic. How can we make these events more than they were before? Especially with festivals, especially with the bigger name festivals. We've seen them as almost just money grabs, almost just as use much resources as possible, try and make as big as festival as possible, trying to get as many people to fly in. How can we change festival culture in this kind of way to doing something a little bit more meaningful? Do you guys have some thoughts on that?
Yeah.
On the spot again.
No, I think, like, for me, I'm definitely a party guy. I've always been, and luckily I made money from partying, lucky me. Nice. So I think for me, with my crowd, as we evolve now, it's more, I'm starting to plan more curated events, so a little bit smaller, targeted. I just did one in Africa for 50 people with Jamie Jones, Lee Foss, and Lauren Lane. 50 people, curated, safari mixed with music. It's just like more, it's where I felt that my crowd kind of wanted, like you said, it's like going to Coachella 13 years in a row is, okay, you want something new. So that's kind of how I kind of evolved out of that. So I'm starting to plan more curated type events. As far as the festivals go, I think it's just going to go back to the way it was, and it depends on the person, what they're looking for, So, yeah.
I got a question, Ralph. Look, everybody's very mindful of the planet, especially your demographic and your crowd. Burning Man had a really good setup with their sustainability for, obviously plastic is a huge issue in Bali. My question for you event producers is that, look, years in 1985, Bali was only festivals. When my festivals, it was gatherings. It was 1,000, 2,000, and it was the millennium, and Bali was one of those beautiful places you could produce. You could produce these events that you really couldn't do anywhere else in the world because it was just cost prohibitive to do big events. Bali is that place where you go to the volcanoes and do a party. You go to a temple and you do a party. That's one of the magics of Bali is that, and what has been lost around the world is that, going to the same club week after week after week after, it gets tedious. Let's be honest about it. Doesn't matter what programming you put in. People love to do the festival thing, dress up, face paint. Tomorrowland had a big, effect on that. Obviously, Burning Man's the original. I think Bali really has, there were no festivals here for a while, and then there was one up at GWK. I think GWK started to try to do something. There's been success and failures. Now I start to see, especially with the Ruskies, there's a lot of they're super creative. Everybody's getting dressed up. People love that, and that's that's a big part of Bali. Is that people love to dress up and go jungle and tribal and all the rest of it. I think there's a big future for the festival scene here, which is a combination not just of big DJs. I think it's more about the production, maybe a headliner once in a while for those kind of festivals, but most you can't afford those. It's expensive to even break even on a festival. But I think that the important factor going forward is it's difficult and it's expensive to produce festivals one-offs. When you have a tribe like you did BPM for years, you know what's coming. To start a festival is really difficult and it costs a lot of money and you normally don't make money. Keeping it sustainable and plastic free and being mindful of the impact that it has on Bali is going to be a big challenge for everyone doing festivals because it's more expensive. Plastic is cheaper than glass, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's going to be a challenge for the festivals, but I think those festivals are going to be a big part of, people see those images around the world and they're like, what the fuck is going on in Bali? It looks incredible. Is it really like that? And we're like, yeah, it is like that. But we just got to be mindful to keep it sustainable.
Yeah, but I think in general, like, we're being hopeful here, but I think COVID really, I hope that it kind of checked people to really think differently about this beautiful planet we live on and, be kinder to one another. And, I'm hopeful, but I really hope that it, trickles down to these event organizers and they start thinking a little bit differently about stuff like that,
I think the positive effect of this whole thing is that you can sort of press the reset button and you get to dictate the market, what's going to happen next. And I think everyone here shares the same vision. I think coming back, it's really about re-educating the market because we have the power to do it. We have the venue owners as the promoters.
And re-educating the venue owners and the event producers.
Yeah.
I think back in the day, you'd let things slide. I think, people without, popping them on Facebook and guilting them out, people are pretty knowledgeable now about who's doing it the right way, the wrong way, and it's just not cool to do it the wrong way,
And people want to work with people that think like that, as a promoter or an organizer, if you meet with a venue and they're not aligned with the way that you're thinking, and Bali has so many choices and opportunities, they'll be like, okay, I'm just going to go here, so that's important too.
Yeah.
Well, actually, this is one of the reasons why me and Yuda have been talking recently is about trying to move the festival world in that sense. So, Yuda, how do you feel about actually moving into sustainable festivals and going green? Is that really, it's like, I know we've talked about it a little bit, but like, do you actually see that as a viable option economically and as a producer of a festival? Is that actually possible to go green as a festival?
It's possible if enough people are doing it. That's the thing, you know. Same thing with DJ prices. You know, it takes one idiot to jack up the price, right? Yeah. Or new promoters normally.
Dial agents.
But yeah, it takes enough. You know, it takes enough people to do it, I think. And
I think a concept like that in Bali would be received well as long as you just started it small and boutique. And
yeah.
then
But I think it also takes, let's be honest, you know, Bali doesn't really have a wonderful recycling infrastructure. You know,
Yeah.
it's, you know, you hire your own truck to take your
I mean,
garbage out.
it doesn't
you know,
have
so
to be. It doesn't have to be to that extreme.
I
you know?
think there's a collaboration, and I think that there needs to be discussions, you know, at government level. You know, there are grassroots things, you know, buy plastic bags, etc. There's some great initiatives. There's some great plastic recycling, but garbage collection is a huge issue. There's no
It is.
garbage
It is. I
collection,
mean,
you know.
it can be as small as that. Really, it doesn't have to be Wonder Fruit scale.
I think though, if you had like a 5-year plan with it, you could grow it to be something big, and you know,
Yeah,
each
yeah,
year
yeah, yeah.
scale up, scale up.
I mean, the thing that I spoke with Halim about is that we're doing a landed version of It's a Ship. It's going to happen soon in Bali. So it's, for us, as the IP owner, it's a chance for us to reset everything, you know, music policy, direction, and everything, including, you know, being more responsible to the environment. And that's what we've been talking about, you know. So hopefully, you know, it sets the blueprint for the landed version of It's a Ship that we're going to be doing in other places in Asia.
Okay, so I do want to thank everyone on the panel. This has been a great discussion, but we're not done yet because we actually invited everyone here today to leave this session with a pledge. So you guys are here on the stage, and we actually want to give you a round of applause for being here right now. It means a lot for everyone to be here right now, you know. To everyone who's trying to do something different, it's better than what we were doing before. Also, thank you to Neverland, who's hosting us and also doing their part. They're not here on stage, but their stage is here, so thank you, Neverland. But before we end this session, I want to pass the mic around to each one person here, and I want you to take a moment, you know, not putting you on the spot, take a moment to think about how can you pledge that your venue, event organization, or business can add to a sustainable Bali, add to a sustainable environment, you know. We will get back to you on this, you know, so don't give us a promise that you can't do, you know, but do the best that you can do. You know, I mean, I'm not asking you to change the world. It's the small steps that matter. But let's do it one by one. But I'm going to give it first to Mark Baker right here, who's, I got to give him props. The In the Raw and the Beach Garden has been doing this for years already. You know, this is nothing new to Mark, and let's hear what else you can do.
Thank you, guys. Look, the reality is it doesn't happen overnight. And, you know, working and doing anything quickly in Bali is just impossible. I can say that I'm really, really happy to announce that next week, after, you know, some years of trying to communicate with Bali farmers around the Bedugul region, around the Kintamani region, and the northern regions, is that we start our first satellite program to, it's difficult to explain, but basically we're trying to turn Bali farmers 100% organic. The problem has been, you know, clean earth, pesticides, you know, produces quick yields. They kill the earth with so many rice yields a year. There's so many middlemen in markets, and some of these farmers don't even have any transport to even get their produce from their fields to the market, which eventually comes to Bali. Basically, we have set up a collaborative, and we'll launch a satellite program next week. that will basically supply them with free clean earth, free composted, organic, blah, blah. It's organic produce, and the yield comes back really good. It's not that moth-eaten, sort of nasty-looking stuff that you would never buy on that rosy supermarket shelf that you normally get. We've collaborated with some amazing Balinese no farming. I mean, they do it, but they've just been hijacked by Monsanto and all the rest of them to sell their pesticides. Anyway, we're trying to reverse that. So that's part of our program. As that program grows, hopefully, we also have some of the tech guys and their crypto ideas that will basically all the stuff that instead of to ad-libbing and what they grow, it'll go into a system that will say what's the demand and what should we grow, and instead of growing one yield of ginger, turmeric, celery, carrots, whatever, we will be able to tell them what to grow a month, 2, 3 months ahead of time. It's quite sophisticated stuff. I'm still learning. And then, of course, we'll throw in, there's a crypto element in there that will basically, eliminate all extra costs. So every penny will go back to these farmers. We'll help them with transport. So that's number one. We want to radicalize Bali, the way produce is grown in Bali, and make it organic. Number two is I absolutely always will make a pledge wherever and whenever possible at In the Raw, Beach Garden, and the other businesses, the Meru and Mabood, blah, 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 that we will always try and be plastic-free and do the best we can. I think it's really impossible to say, it's 100% this or 100% that. There is stuff that's delivered in plastic, and there's stuff. It's just how we just do our best. And I think as long as everyone does their best, and at the same time, we try to engage Bali government to be part of that program and recycling and all the rest of it. I think they got a wake-up call as well, because Bali was drowning in plastic. So, that's it. And you guys out there have a choice. It's convenient to go buy stuff in plastic bags, but you have a choice to take your own bag to a supermarket and buy it without the plastic bag. Nature does it better. So, it's not just us. It's you guys, too. You guys have to make a choice and say, I'm not going to buy a plastic bottle that I'm going to throw on a beach. I'm going to refill, reuse, and recycle. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Whose idea was it for him to start?
All right. We did this. I planned this before. He's gonna put it all out there. Now everyone else got put on the spot after that one. So, if the next, please.
Can't wait. They're related.
I think everything should start from, any changes should start from really things that you done. Not you think, not you, talk, but what you do. And we have a small case when we took our beach in Odessa. We took also the social beach near us. It's almost 1 hectare. So all the year we clean this beach each day. And what I think, you have your house, you have your home, you have your villa, you clean it each day, but please, clean the streets around your villa, clean the streets, clean the territory around you, and this is the really true things you can done.
And your business too, around your business.
Yeah, it's around your business also. So this is true.
All right. Oh. Well, for stars, we have recycled straws. We're working on the other parts. I don't know how to follow Mark. Seriously, what do I... It's difficult, man, because we do have recycled straws, though, and we do our recycling rubbish the most proper way we can. We don't bend any rules. We just do what needs to be done the proper way. We do our best. Yeah.
Well, kind of sounds like you need a...
I just can't wait for hers, because mine was more... They don't even have recycled straws.
I'll plug myself here.
Boo.
They're a big deal. A lot of people drink through straws.
I'll plug myself here right now. It sounds like you need a green consultant, and you can make the pledge that you're going to contact Halim after this.
Oh, Halim.
That's a good idea.
You got to bring a brush, man, and clean us up.
Yep, I'll clean the dishes right with you.
Buddy, you got to start.
I'll start with the spoons.
Start. I just got promoted. Don't take it away from me.
Please, next.
Well, for me, since I'm a marketer, I'm a marketing director, I'm going to talk more about the marketing side of it, how we could, like, you know. What about the straws? We'll talk about the straws later. But for the marketing side of it, what I could do, honestly, and I will always try to do, is to reduce the use of plastic in merchandise, reduce the use of papers and flyering, postering, banners, all kind of those things, and focus more on a word of mouth, focus more on the social media, digital stuff, medias more than that. What happened? And then a good thing too, that Vault is actually a very grungy underground venue type of vibe. So when we do events, when we do productions, we like to recycle stuff. We use like old drum barrels, you know, we use like old banners and do some graffitis and art on it. Like we use newspapers and like we use bottles, like, you know, all of the unused bottles and make that into an art. That's what we
That's
like
cool.
to do at Vault, you know.
I think overall, as a collective, the venues, we probably should do more charity events, you know, like raise some more money for certain fun, like, and try and contribute a little bit more.
That helps just as much, you know. I think this is one of the biggest things. Everyone thinks that like they have to do everything, but there's people who are already doing things, and if you support the people who are doing things, that helps just as much. And I just want to build on your point right there. As someone who does digital marketing as well, you know, I think it's one of the hardest things. Like you try to do digital marketing to not do flyers. So let's put it out there to everybody in the audience. If you see a digital flyer, give it a like, give it a share, because that means we don't have to print another flyer. So it comes back onto you guys. Like like if someone's doing some social media online, give it the little like that it needs, and so that we don't have to print more flyers. And I think I really agree with that point right there. Mr. Ralph?
Hi. So, going back to straws, when I was in Toronto, I started switch your plastic straws to paper straws or whatever. And I really think that in the hospitality industry, that's kind of like the gateway for people to start thinking a little bit more consciously. You know, they start wondering, what the hell's this? And then it's like, oh, plastic, okay, what's going on? So I really pushed that. I got a bunch of clubs in Toronto and restaurants and some in Montreal and Miami. David Grubman, I talked to him about. So I got a lot of people on board, and it, you know, it really makes a difference. I think it really, yeah, just don't use straws. But, you know, girls lipstick. It's girls lipstick. You
Come
know?
on, girls, play your part.
You know, and no, but we noticed that when you don't give straws, only like 10% of people actually asked for them, and you know, it's just you don't need them at all. So you know, that was kind of the gateway to a little conscious thinking. You know, I think you know my pledge personally, coming here to Bali and being in the hospitality industry for so long. You know, I'm going to use Morabito as kind of like a hub to just create these programs like you're talking about that either exist, work with them, plug and play, or create programs and money that is coming into the business. We're going to give a portion to these programs that exist, that are happening. And, you know, in the hotel rooms, just have a little sign, you know, about towels, all that kind of stuff. So you just, you know, it's like one step at a time, you know.
It's the little things.
The little things. You know, I was recently on a boat in Rajampat, you know, and I suggested to them, the kids were coming to sell stuff, and we said, okay, we'll give you guys money if you go around and pick up all the plastic on the thing. So these kids came back garbage bags of garbage. So, you know, it's just a matter of educating the kids. So it's just, you know, it's not about, hey, you know, I'm not going to support this. Like if a plastic, something comes in plastic, ask them, why is it coming in plastic? Is there a way that it can't come in plastic? So take it a little bit more further to kind of educate that person so they go back and say, why is this coming in plastic, you know?
Great, thank you. Well said. And last but not least, Mr. Yura.
Dude, I'm already working with you for my next festival.
Hang on, what straws are you using?
What else do you want me to say? But no, I think to add to what everyone already said, I think it takes an army to make an impact. So I think the key is really being in it together and communicate, not just in the whole environment thing, but how we run our businesses as well. Because, you know, I think we need to work together, you know, within the island to sustain the industry and to sustain the environment, you know. So I think my pledge is communication with everyone.
Great.
You know.
Thank you so much. All right, that concludes our Mixmag Asia powered panel about Clubland after COVID. Can we please get a round of applause for everyone on stage and their pledges that they will do? Give it a round of applause. Thank you so much.
All right. Mic drop.
Mic drop it.